Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you already know, but just in case you don't, this team is very good for fighting Einek, and I didn't realize how easy it was to get 4,000 score on this one. For some reason, whenever they first switch back over to Einek, I always get really just like lazy with it, I guess, and I always just try to use whatever team I can get 4,000 points with, and I don't ever really mess with it too much. But Einek is actually one of the easiest ones to get a good score on, just because it's all HP based, whereas Kellak is actually like sort of crit based, like you want to get as much damage out as possible to get a really high score. This one's literally just depending on how much HP your characters have. So it's relatively free to play friendly, just because a lot of these characters have been in the game for a long time, and a lot of them are on most of the banners, so you can kind of get them pretty easily. If not, I mean, maybe if you're a newer player, you maybe don't have Escanor, but all of the other characters, I mean, Merlin is a coin shop unit. They've given this Elizabeth out before for free, depending on whether or not you got that or not. I guess it really just depends, but she's a pretty common character. She's on a lot of banners, if I'm not mistaken, so that's really nice. And then Jillian is literally in the back just because, well, she's not in the back because you use all four characters, but she's on the team because of her passive, which increases, I think it's HP related stats of green units by 30%, I think it is. Yeah, so HP attribute allies HP increased by 30%. So obviously the more HP you have, the better, you know, you're gonna the better score you're gonna get. So you want to use HP food for this as well. You're just using all green characters, so that way you can kind of boost your HP with Jillian. And we're gonna just run through each of these fights really quick. They're pretty simple, honestly. The only thing that I've kind of noticed is that the very last one, the extreme difficulty fight, can be a bit difficult because of some of his mechanics, whereas like he has this mechanic where he kind of like covers himself in metal, like he's very metallic. Whenever he uses that move, if you attack with somebody, it completely depletes your entire ult gauge, which can be a pretty big hindrance, especially if you need to kill him to move into next phase and stuff like that. But obviously if you use an ult, it's going to get through that, because, you know, you can't really I don't know why I just lost my train of thought. You can't lose an ult gauge if you just use the ult. So we're gonna throw out this Jillian card and probably this, and then we'll throw this out, and then we'll get rid of that defense related buff that he has on. So that should put an ignite on here. I should have used it at third, but I never know how to feel about the damage with this first boss. We actually have pretty decent cards in hand. I'm thinking we might just use both level 1 cards instead. Let me look at the modifier on that if I merge them. So it's 240% into 300%. So yeah, it's probably going to be more worth it for me to just use both level 1s. And then you want to try to have as much HP as possible, so we'll do that. And then we should be good on the score, or like we should have him dead. Yeah. Oh, I should have healed first because that's gonna finish the match. Oh well. If I was smart, I would have used the heal first, but you can see we got 1,200 points there on the first match. I mean, that wasn't very hard at all. It literally took 2 turns, and I mean, it's just all HP related stuff anyway, so pretty simple, pretty easy. We can just go ahead and move on to the next fight, and we literally just use the same team, same food, same everything. Just make sure that your gear is all set up and everything on the characters, so that way you're good to go. I guess if you really wanted to, I know it's very common for a lot of people in the very first fight and sometimes the second fight, they'll take gear off of certain characters so that way they don't do quite as much damage, so they can farm points. But I don't know if this is really one of the fights that you want to do that on. I'm not exactly sure how the mechanics on that work, but I don't think this like fight in general just has a lot of like farmable points. So we are going to throw that out. I think we're gonna go throw this, and then try to get rid of that debuff as well. So this is where Jillian is gonna start becoming a little more useless. Like, she really just can't compete as far as like damage goes. So she's kind of just a hindrance to have a little bit, because her hand can sort of fill up with these useless cards that really don't do a whole lot of damage, even with decent gear. Obviously, you can see mine is level 60, non-super awakened. Everything is very like minimal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I only have her UR'd because I UR'd everybody in my box. So it's not like I was purposefully like working on her in general. That was really nice. Got rid of the whole hand there. But yeah, so you don't have to have her like super powered up or anything by any means. And a lot of the times, most of the time, that I don't end up losing her as a character because just the gear in general that I have on her. I've actually got her using my Nalyd OCL gear, so it's actually very powered up. So you can kind of see she doesn't really take a whole lot of damage or anything like that, even at level 60, so it's not that bad. But, you know, obviously some of you guys may not have like super powered up gear, so just be aware that you may want to work on a lot of gear and stuff like that when it comes to these fights. Okay, so I should have healed again. I don't know why. I thought that there was going to be a second health bar for some reason. I just wasn't paying attention. But you can see we got 1,800 points there, 1818. I don't know if that was... Did that beat my current score? Well, I forgot that the scores got reset this week. So you can see, even with just these two, I'm already at 3,000 points. I'm sure you could maybe try to, like... I don't know if you could min-max these ones enough to really, like, coax 4,000 points out of those two. But just being able to beat the fourth or the third difficulty extreme in general, most of the time will go ahead and push you over the edge there. So obviously this is the one that's a little bit more difficult, but I think it really just depends on your gear and stuff like that. Obviously, if you have somebody like Escanor who can just ult and hit really, really hard, it's obviously going to help a lot. So I think we are going to... I think Merlin's going to do more damage than Jillian at this point, so we're just going to kind of throw these out and hope to get the Ignite and the defense buff off. I don't know if we will be able to... Okay, so the Victory Blow actually blew through the entire shield, so that's really nice. Which I do have UR gear on all three of these characters here, so just know that I do have pretty decent stats and stuff like that on these characters. So it may be a lot different for you depending on what kind of gear you have. But just in general, this team works really well. So we're going to throw that out, try to merge and get rid of some of this. Unfortunately, we didn't get like any attack cards, so can't take advantage of the fact that the shield is down this turn, really. I didn't even have an ult reduction either, so I really hope we get some attack cards or else he's going to ult us. Well, he's going to ult us either way because I still didn't get an ult removal. Unfortunate there. Let's do something like that. Go ahead and give Escanor both of his ult gauge. Or, well, I guess it really didn't matter because I was using those either way, but... Probably should have did that in reverse so that way I could have put the Ignite on, but... Not really a huge deal. Hopefully Merlin can kill here, because I'd like to save Escanor's ult for the second phase. I think we should be able to kill. So like I said, whenever he puts this metallic barrier thing on, you don't have to worry too much about it if you already have ult with a lot of characters. Like, I don't care if Jillian's ult gets her ult gauge gets taken off because boom, I used her ult. She doesn't have ult gauge anymore. That actually took him down, which is nice. And then even if Jillian would have used that card, it wouldn't have burnt anything off of her ult gauge because she didn't have anything. So it's really all about... That's another really good reason why this green Elizabeth is really good for this, just because her ult gives you ult gauge, which is super helpful. God almighty, the merges. Okay, so let's do this. I don't know how much damage this is going to do. We will try to do that. It's actually not going to do a whole lot of damage. Let's try this, and then this should purge if we can beat through. It probably will not purge, actually, because we won't have the shield completely down yet. But then we'll do that and merge those cards for more hand space. Yeah, even a level 3 card did only 28,000 damage with her. I need to power her up, but at the same time, it's one of those characters where you really don't use them enough to like validate, you know, spending the resources on them. So you can see he did not die there, which is, you know, it's fine, it's whatever. I can obviously get more ult gauge with Liz next turn, actually. And you want to be kind of careful because I'm pretty sure he has a move where he can D-rank cards. can't remember which one it is. Corrosion, no. Resolve, immunity. I thought okay, that one's decreased skill ranks, but I thought he had a move. Maybe it is the ult that I'm thinking of. I know he can de-rank your skills, so make sure if you have Liz buffs where you can, or the Liz heal where you can take off debuffs and stuff like that, go ahead and try to use those whenever you can, just so that way he doesn't mess you up there. I think we're gonna throw both of those. Try to keep this ult gauge card for next turn. Okay, that did 0 damage. Fortunately, I didn't have any Escanor cards in hand. I would have liked to have had at least a couple so I could try to rush his ult a little bit faster to get this over with. But it is kind of what it is. Luckily, we can... I think we're going to throw this, move this. We might go ahead and move it one more time and then throw that, so that way it'll give us our ult. And then we'll just ult him down next turn. Hopefully, we can keep... we didn't really get a whole lot of Elizabeth cards, which is a little unfortunate. I would have liked to have tried to heal up a little bit more, ideally. But it is kind of what it is. Okay, so we'll heal first, throw this, move a card just because it gives us a couple of points, and then this should take care of him. So not quite as much of a heal as I would have wanted, unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then boom, takes care of him, very nice, no big deal, and this should be a little over 2,000 points maybe. Okay, so 2,600 points. Obviously, your results are going to vary depending on what characters you have to substitute, if any, and what kind of gear you're using on the characters. But altogether, this is a pretty easy one. I always dread when they switch it because I always forget what kind of tactics and team you need to use between each boss. But this one's pretty straightforward. So there's all the rewards for the week, and then I'm good until next Sunday. So hopefully this helped. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video. So I'll see you then.